thing. That's why I got to do the back drops every day. So otherwise I wouldn't. If it wasn't for Rob Cardenas, I wouldn't know what show this is. Hey, good morning, everybody on YouTube. Great to have you here. Make sure that's muted here just a second. And hold, please. That's muted. Okay, so we can do that. Drop that over here. Make that a little bit smaller. There we go. There's this one. There's that one. Close that. And let me go back to our meeting. Good morning. There's Noah in the house. Let me hit the record button here. Noah, look who's in my office. Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Saturday, February 15th, 2020. I'm Sean Murphy, along with Rhonda Bird Parker in the house.
Hey.
Hey. Yeah, today's going to be part two of the conversation. What about me? Hey, Kenya, how are you? Good to have you here. And there's Gina. Good to have you here. We're going to get started here. Let's see. There's the chats. Good morning, all. Good morning. Good morning. Morning, Rhonda and Sean. Yep. That's Noah. Yeah, we're all in the same room. Rhonda came up for an event. That's a 2-day gig summit event that's going on here in Dallas. And so, yeah, she came on over for the event and she's here for the morning calls. Yeah, baby. And we probably will do the morning call tomorrow again.
No, it's pretty face.
Look at that.
I get to see all y'all.
All right. So this morning is part 2 of yesterday. I'm going to go along with the rest of the slides. And yesterday we had a lot of feedback yesterday from the conversation of self-image. And people were asking me to actually go over it again. So if I look at the replays, I think the replays are up a lot on that particular one. It was a long session, but there was a lot that came out of it. So I'm going to go through the rest of this session here. Let me just see here real quick where we're at. Anybody have any feedback from yesterday? I'm not sure, or any questions about yesterday before we get started? I'm just doing a couple more things here real quick. Rhonda, while you're digging in there, anything, hold on, let me get you a mic here.
You may not hear me.
Right,
Oh my
that's it.
gosh, that's a little intimidating. I better not do anything
Can you all hear Rhonda okay?
embarrassing. Can y'all hear me?
Perfect.
Oh my gosh, that's scary. Perfect. My stomach growls. I'm sorry. I've got a microphone way too close to it. Did you ask me a question?
Yeah. Oh, she's really, I don't want to pick
Stop
on
it.
any blonde folks out there. Your thoughts from yesterday?
Oh,
I just got to do a couple more things. For the
it
slides
sat with me all day. I think everybody I spoke to yesterday ended up hearing about it. And just how, I don't know, I titled all mine self-image. That's the first, yesterday was all about looking in the mirror.
Yeah. And the big thing about looking in the mirror is making sure the mirror gets clean.
Ooh.
Because we can look at it and we can see what we want. You know, sometimes we've got so many pasted notes on it of our old story that we can't even see. We don't even see the reflection, right? You know, you ever see those videos? You ever see those photos? Hey, Ada, how are you? You ever see those photos? And Bob Park's in the house. Those photos where it's all different pictures. And all the pictures make up the face when you back way away.
Oh, yeah.
That's what happens with our story. Is Tommy said this and that goes on the mirror, and Johnny said this and that goes on the mirror, and Sally said this and that goes on the mirror. And if we back up far enough, it makes up our story of who we are. But we got to get all that old stuff off, and we've been looking at it for so long we don't even know that stuff is on the mirror.
That's a good visual. And then the next question is, what post-it note are you on somebody else's mirror? Are you a post-it note they really want to remove?
I'm the big old GQ. Did I say that? Did I just say that?
Y'all want me to thump him or anytime, so just, type in the chat, thump him, and I'll just pop him right in his head. He gets too snarky. I don't know that they'll be able to handle us together.
Yeah, who knows? We'll figure it out. That's why we're in one room and they're over there. So this slide came back up. Let me put this. So no, let's see here. I got to do share first. Hang on. So much going on here. Share. I want that. I want number 2 screen.
Lord have mercy.
Share. And then when I go play live here, this should go live over there. Yep. Noah, can you see that big screen? The We Behave?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Thanks, brother. So the way we behave is often driven by the desire to fulfill the way people think and feel and act around us. I think this one's worth commenting on again. And the reason is because perfect example, RBP is in the house and she acted as a guest yesterday. Y'all follow me on this? So she came to the house, she's a guest and more like family, but came to the house and acted as a guest of, well, I just want to make sure everything is okay. I want to do it the way you guys do it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you played the good guest.
I did.
And then when you got snarky,
Michelle high-fived me.
Yeah.
No.
But so we're in these transitional roles, right? You played pet owner, right? Hugging on the puppies. So what I'm saying is that all of these things that happen, the way we feel and the way we act is sometimes driven by our environment. It's a perfect example. I think one of the things that I excel at is taking the moment and being able to make it teachable. A lot of times for myself. So be aware of how we behave is often driven by the desire to weigh, right? Because what would Michelle want? What would Mason want? Gosh, because they ask sometimes when people come to the house, how are they going to act? Right? When I have people that stay over. So it was because they know Rhonda and we've known each other for a while now. There wasn't a big question about that. So all that to say, sometimes even in the moment, we need to become chameleons. So let me get to where I think we finished up yesterday. So yeah, we talked about this. These would be good to review. How has your life been influenced by your environment? Of the way you grew up? Bob talked about it yesterday and he came to some realizations that may or may not have been environmental, but it definitely changed the environment he was in, right? So what are some of the things of the environment that you grew up? How about your family unit, right? Were you the baby of the family? Was it a big family? Did you have designer items? Is there anything, how many of you remember this story? Something that was something usually on a shelf or in a cabinet somewhere, sometimes in a glass cabinet, in a hutch, was something that was your grandmother's. That was your grandfather's. And all of a sudden, this piece of clay that was fired in an oven somewhere, or this piece of wood that was turned into a cabinet or a hutch, only has value because of its sentimental story. And how many of you ever broke something that was your grandmother's, that was your grandfather's, right? A little vase, a little doll, right? I think I broke something of my grandmother's from Ireland, right? And the reason is because there's only one of them. So here's what's downloading me as I'm sitting here right now. There's only one of them. What is the one you that you've broken that can never be repaired? I'll use Jim Rohn's favorite word, until you sit quietly and put the pieces back together. That's what all of this is about. That's what you becoming more of who you want and less of who you don't want, right? What was your economic status growing up? Right? All of these things influence us, right? I remember we used to get in the car and drive for 8 hours to go to New York because that's where my mom and dad grew up. That's where I was born, in Yonkers, New York. We'd go there. But then they would want to come out to the farm. Once my dad bought the farm, they'd want to drive out to the farm. They thought it was funny. They could sit on the hood of their car on the road in front of our house and drive up and down the road. And like, you could just sit on the hood of the car and ride down the road. Yeah, crazy things you remember. So we're getting close to the new slides here. How about your body, right? We talked about that. And this is kind of a recap. And if anybody has any chats or anything while we're going through this, feel free to set up the chat. I'll have to watch for it. Okay, so have you ever had, this is where we got to. Oh. Y'all can see how well this was planned, right? This is just me being me. Here we go. Have you ever had a point of no return moment? This is when you said, you've heard me call it before, the day you've had enough. But what they're saying is in the more research I do on entrepreneurs and the more interviews I do with entrepreneurs, be it beginner entrepreneurs, baby entrepreneurs, and wildly successful entrepreneurs, there's a shift that happens. And in that shift is a total rewire in the body, right? And that total rewire causes you to say, listen, when a decision is made, no thought no longer is necessary. See, if you're going to decide to drink a gallon of water every day, there's nothing to argue about. You get so focused on your time, you don't even have to worry about drinking the water. It's done. How many of you have, listen, I'm going to talk to the moms in the room, literally the mom in the room. And when you became a parent, up a second before that baby was in your arms, came out and started crying, you were not a parent. Everything shifted. The good news is your body had 9 months to begin that shift, the rewiring that happens, the way your brain actually gets flooded with hormones and everything else. And you get the mommy fog brain afterwards, because you're not supposed to fight afterwards. Otherwise you'd be throwing kids all over the place when they don't let you sleep and all of that stuff. So this is about making an investment in a future goal right now, in this moment, your self-image, the person who you're becoming, the person who you are right now, this thing that you're desiring has to happen right now. And when you make that shift, when you decide, right, decision means to cut off, to not let anything else exist, to cut off, decide, incision is to cut in. What is the investment in this future goal that you want? What is the investment in your future desire that you want? What is that list? Where's that thing that you're going to? We're going to an event. We're going to be 3 days in an event here in Dallas. 2 days in one summit and 1 day in a mastermind with 20 of the top income earners of all time in the history of network marketing. Talk about a shift that's going to happen there. Talk about when somebody stands up on stage, has made over $120 million in this profession, and he stands in front of you as a human being who has challenges, who has rough spots, who has just absolutely been through hell and back a dozen times, and you stand up there and go, well, how do I find leads? You know what he's going to say? Very well. Why do you ask? There's not even, it's a whole different playing field. When you talk to somebody who lost their wife and became a single dad early on in his career, and he's been this amazing dad, Jeff Weisberg, who's been this amazing dad. And you talk about, but I don't know, where do you find the time? What is this investment in this future goal? Right? What do you say to the guy that says, I could tell you the color of the shoes, couldn't tell you the color of your eyes. I failed high school because I couldn't give the high school report, the book report, couldn't walk across the stage. Now 53 years later in the industry, working on his second, just finished helping build his $2 billion company. What do you say to that? When you ask your goal, if you were to ask those people your goal, wouldn't, how many of you would start the question with saying, this may be a stupid question? There are no stupid questions, but what is the investment in your future goal? What have you done that moved you into this position that you could not return from? Listen to this. Being a parent is one. There's some people who are parents and have lost a child. That's a whole nother position. You were a parent. Now you're not one. That stuff always sits with you. I didn't find out that I had a younger brother till I was 14. He lived for 18 hours. Up until I was 14, I didn't know I was a big brother. You follow me? That's a position you can't go back from. Some of you may have lost a sibling. What is this thing about that you do, that you're going to do when you decide that your life is important enough to live in this moment and not that one or not the past one? What is that image that needs to take? What is the shift that needs? Some of you are feeling it right now. I feel it. I'm feeling it in my body. What is that thing you feel? What is that thing that's happening in your body right now? That rewiring that's awakening you to this whole new you that's always been there, that's actually taking its breath for the first time. Oliver Wendell Holmes said, a mind stretched by a new experience can never go back to its former dimensions. What is the stretch you are looking for? What is the stretch? I remember watching, Bob will probably get a kick out of this. I don't know if he ever watched The Waltons. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget this. And it rings true in my head. I see it on the TV as clear as I have. I don't know if it's John Boy or Lazy Boy or who's up in the top. They're up in their little bunk. And he's squeezing his head. I think he's sitting with his sister. There's the two young ones. And he's squishing his head, or she's squishing her head, and she's trying to push her head. And she goes, "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm trying to stay small. I don't want to grow up. And if I can just keep myself, I can keep myself from growing up." You know how long ago that was? And I can see it as clear as day. It was dark. They were up in one of those a loft. The roof was doing that deal. They had their comforters of many colors, and they were just sitting there. And the lighting was off on the right, so the shadows were back to the left. It's so visual. How many of us are spending all of our energy? You know why you're tired? You're trying to keep yourself from growing. You're exhausted. You're exhausted trying to keep your old story. You're trying to drag that thing around. It's only the weight of a glass of water, but you've been holding it up for how many years? And when somebody takes away that story, your arm is frozen in that spot. You ever sleep on your arm? You ever sleep on and your arm fell off the bed and you can't even move it? You're like, the pins and needles. Y'all get me? So here's what's required. A peak experience is required. A peak experience is required. What is a peak experience? A peak experience is a story like this. I was listening to a buddy of mine, tell me a story about him wanting to lose weight. I've used a story with the grandpa and the cigarettes, but this was a story that he said changed his life forever. He was in the grocery store. He was buying healthy food. He had already started his healthy diet. He'd already started moving in that direction, but he just wasn't quite there. How many of us have started reading books, attended workshops, gone to seminars, read more books, bought more books, attended more seminars, and we're all on this personal development thing. And you know what? We really haven't developed a damn thing. This is why I call it personal undevelopment. You've got to undo all of the stuff that somebody else has poured into. Yeah, but so-and-so said this. I don't care what so-and-so said. You're on my call. This is I'm giving you an awakening. You can choose whether to awaken or not. So here's the story. He walks into the grocery store. He's buying stuff, and this little kid goes by with his mother, and out of the mouth of babes, right? And he says, the little kid says, "Mommy, look at the fat man." And he kind of giggles. And everybody kind of likes to see when other people are kind of picked on. Oh, no, I don't. Yeah, well, yeah, you do. So he turns around starting to look to see where the fat man was. Guess who the fat man was? It was him. He about collapsed. And in that moment, he got rewired. That was a peak experience. That pushed him to the edge that the decision was, there wasn't even a question of what to eat or how to exercise or what to do. It is absolute. When you become a parent, there's absolutely no question of how you're going to love that child. Now, you may do stupid things because you're young or you lack experience. That's why the first ones are always very special children that come out. So here's the question. When you change your identity strong enough and long enough that it no longer is a reality. This reality of me, when I say it because it draws people in. Some of the language I use is to draw people in. So I have a specific vibration when I use it. Barely made it through high school, drove by a lot of colleges. There was a moment where that was a badge of honor. There's a difference between a badge of honor and a footnote in a testimonial. It's a change in vibration. Some of you had parents who maybe weren't the best parents growing up, and you carried that around for the longest time. Some of you still carry it around. But when you come to the realization of what it was they were doing, you come up with a new story, and the story's changed forever. When can you change your identity strong enough? When you can change that, I'm a young Black woman. I'm a young African-American woman. I'm a young Latino woman. I'm a young Dominican woman. I'm a young East Texas woman. When you change that story, I'm a young New Yorker boy. I'm a young farm boy. When you change that story to make it a footnote in a testimonial versus who you are, because who you are is sitting in front of you right now. Congratulations. Where you're at, it's your fault. Good, bad, or indifferent. Change behavior requires a shift in identity, a shift in identity. What is the identity? What are you looking to become? You can't become it until you what? Are it. Operating at a different level. Behaviors equal identity. What are your behaviors? What you're doing right now? How you woke up this morning? Oh, God, I got to get on the call. Oh, I get to get on the call. Sean started the call early. He said he wasn't going to be till 8:15. Well, buck up. Things change. There was so much energy from yesterday, I couldn't wait to start 2 minutes ago. I had to start earlier. You ready for this one? Willpower can fix anything. Wrong. Willpower is free will. That's why you can't, that's why you got no power. You got to make a decision. This idea to become faithful or to become healthy or to go walk every day, it requires a decision where nothing else is possible. Your willpower ain't going to help you a bit. And you can't blame your willpower either. That's just an excuse. I plant all my plants at 2:00 in the morning. Well, they need sunlight. I take the covers off of them at midnight every night. Well, you're not giving them any sunlight. Well, but that's when I'm awake. That's when I can fix my plant. Well, geez, that just sounds stupid. Check some of the conversations going on in your own head. This is about you being more. This isn't about you playing at a lower level. It's about you playing at a higher level. And when you play at a higher level, that decision comes through. You just decide. You're going to lose some people. There may be some people who never come back on my call because it's like, geez, this is my first time on this call. This guy's a real dick. Well, I'm sorry. Your life is too important to me to try to wait around for it. Behavior fixes everything. It's why I ask you, shower off differently. When you get out of the shower, shower off differently. Take a shower with your back to the shower the whole time. Back to the water. Instead of turning around and twirling. Do different things. Behavior. You have to control your body. Everything that's in your body has been wired into your body. The way you wake up, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way, if you don't do things differently, some of you have been listening to Bob Proctor, who I absolutely love. Listen, y'all get him now. I had him as a personal mentor 18 years ago for 6 months. Talk about getting a shakeup. Bob would do that. Behavior fixes everything. What can you change? Your identity produces your behavior. Well, our culture doesn't do that. I'd be aware of your words. Some of you have a particular word that you use regularly, whether it be an or an or the word like. Listen to your words and listen to that thing that constantly repeats, because your identity produces behavior. But the challenge is, what did it say earlier? Sometimes we use our behavior stays the way it is so that other people can know who we are. If you changed your speech pattern, that might break up everything. We hear Julie on the calls sometimes in the morning, and she speaks at this wonderful pace. But man, when we first started working together, she was talking like this, and she was talking like a typical New Yorker. She was very powerful, and she had to get stuff out. And when she get up there in front of the stage, she really got to energize. And all of a sudden, nobody could hear what she's saying. So I say all of that to say this. Identity produces behavior. That's what this whole thing started out 40 slides ago. 39 slides ago. What is this identity you are looking to have? And your identity has been wired into you until, Jim Rohn's favorite word, until you decide what your identity is today, in this moment, in this now. What is the future identity you're working for? If you were going to plant, listen, if you were going to plant corn and you needed to plant 300 stalks of corn, what would the identity for the ground, for the farm look like? How much area would you need to plant 300 kernels? Well, that's not big enough. Listen to me. This is just flowing into me right now. It's not big enough. What is the identity you're looking to become? I can promise you, if we sat there and looked at your farm, we looked at your land called you'd all say, well, that's not big enough. I can't plant a 6-figure income in this soil. I can't plant a family of love and joy in this soil because it's all filled up with the beatings I got as a child, the neglect I got as a child, the hate I got from a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or the old stories. Your soil needs some work. Soil needs some work. Undeveloped. How many times have you heard where they just got to scrape it away and start new? Maybe that's what we need to do. And because you're still growing some stuff, as unfruitful as it might be, how hard is it to sit down and start over? What area of your life do you need to refocus on? What area of your life do you need to replant? Because boy, I can't tell you the hardest thing as a farmer, growing up on a farm, literally growing crops. We had 200 head of beef cattle. We grew all of our own crops, grew all of our own hay. I can't tell you the worst thing to have is to put all of the soil, put all of the effort in, put all of this in, put all of that in. And when it's starting to sprout, it's not sprouting, and then nothing grows. You still got 200 head of cattle to feed. You'll figure you're going to go buy it. Maybe it's why we go to events. We're going to buy some new soil. The problem is our bag has a damn hole in it when we leave the event. And by the time we get home, none of that stuff came with us. Boy, if you could see the visuals in my head. Identity produces behavior. How do you build a new identity? That's the real question. Is it clean eating, clean habits, or clean for the rest of your life? Are you going to start doing 6-figure habits today and never stop? Are you going to be okay when somebody goes, hey, why can't you go out with us? Or why are you being that way? What is possible in your future? What is possible in your future? Listen to this. This makes it so much easier. Harvard business professor Clayton Christensen said this: 100% commitment is easier than 98%. 100% means there's no question. There's 100% commitment. We're going to this event in 8 minutes. 100%. 100%. There's nothing. We may go in 9 minutes, but we're going. There's no doubt. That makes it a lot easier than me and Rhonda sitting here going, well, do we really want to go? Do you want to go? Do we have to go? Well, I came all the way up here. We should be going. Yeah, but I really don't want to go. It's only 3 miles for me. You drove 90 miles. Do we really have to go? No, what is the 100% commitment that's going to happen in your world? 98%, you really haven't made the decision yet. I know that sucks. To say that, that's horrible. Well, yeah, but I do it like almost every day. Okay. How's that working for you? My mentor would say, drives me nuts still today. And I love it. You're right. I'm rich. Let's move on. Less than 100% is this phenomenon, write this down, called decision fatigue. How many of you are so tired having to make a decision? Moms, I'm going to talk to the moms in the room because I'm going to talk to the dads, but the moms are the ones that just absolutely are exhausted from decision fatigue. Now, when your child is hungry, there's not a decision. I got to make food. You don't care whether you're exhausted, tired, your hair's in a mess or whatever. You get up, you make the food. You get up, you do it. You stand there and you rock them, and they need burping, and you're bouncing them, and you're doing this, and you're. But then what happens is when we start to let the outside world tell us, well, are you really a good mom? Is that how you're going to raise the child? And then your questions about how your mom raised you and how you don't want these things to happen. How my dad ran his businesses and how I don't want to run my businesses this way. How I do things totally different. Still same result. But I use a different format. You're not sure what you're going to do, then guess what? If you're not sure what you're going to do, the situation always wins. I'm going to drink the water, not drink the water. Well, the not drinking the water is the situation. The situation is always going to win. I'm going to eat healthier. And you don't make the decision to eat healthy, then the not eating healthy always wins. I'm going to prospect more. Well, then the not prospecting always wins. The situation always wins. It's like Vegas. The house always wins. Where'd that just go? That's funny. Camera just moved on its own. Environment would have to make a decision. You haven't made the choice. We are a byproduct of our situation then. I'll just let that sink in for a moment. Look at the screen. Once I made a decision, I never had to think about it again. Think about the freedom that comes with that. What's the freedom that comes? What's the freedom that comes with making a decision? I'm going to be a better boyfriend, better husband. I'm going to be a better son. Some of y'all haven't made the decision. As soon as you make a decision, you have total freedom. Freedom! I put this one up for ours. Well, I'm going to try for a week. That's not a decision. How many people do you, how many of you talk about your product, talk about your service and say, well, let's try it for 30 days. And this was for me. Now I'm pointing the finger back this way and I'm sending the 3 back to you, but I'm pointing to me and I hope y'all get this. when you start somebody off with a trial, that's an easy way to get them started. But if you're not pitching the next 7 days already, or the next 70 days, or the next 7 years, we're really doing a disservice. So if you get somebody started in your business and you're going to say, well, we're going to get back into the academy. We're going to get back into the academy and we're going to do this. And then they don't get back into the academy. You know what you might want to do? Tell them to quit. What? Tell them to quit. They haven't made a decision, and you're not going to be responsible because, see, here's the challenge. Too many of us take the credit for when people win, but you don't take the credit for when they lose. I hear so many people come to me all the time going, well, they just quit. I don't know why they quit. They didn't have it in them. No, you didn't put it in them. It's your responsibility. Are you going to be a sponsor? A sponsor makes sure they don't quit. Think about Alcoholics Anonymous. They tell you find a sponsor. What's your sponsor do? Your sponsor keep ride you like a ragged doll. Make sure you don't quit. Some of you can't call yourself sponsors. You've just been enrollers in a business model. When you decide to become a sponsor, they live with you.
Whoops.
You spend hours with them to make sure you know where the weakest point is, that when they decide, that when they get pushed, because listen, the storm's coming. The challenge is coming, and if you're going to take them to a whole new level of everything they want in their world, the storm is out there. There ain't a storm shelter strong enough to keep that from becoming aware of. How tired are you from having to make decisions about your life? Do I get up this morning? If you hit the snooze button, you haven't made a decision to wake up on time. And you think your day's going to be good. Kind of funny, isn't it? Imagine if we had some people in a petri dish, and we had them in this terrarium, and we were watching people, and we knew that number 72 says they want to drink water every day, and they walk past the water pitcher every day, and you're like, this is crazy. Look at that. They just walked right past. They got water in their house. They don't have to go to a river 5 miles away and bring pesticide infested water carried back and have the possibility of child, what do you call the trafficking, or lions eat you. I bet they drink more water than you do because it's precious, as bad as it is. When does the rest of your life start? How are you testing out the rest of your life? Listen, this is a performance. There's no practice. You want to look at your family life? You want to look at your business life, the 6 areas: family, finance, society, mind, body, spiritual, 6 if you're faithful. How many of you are testing out your finances? I know I am, and it sucks, and I've made a decision. It only took me 50 years. How much of your life do you want to have to think about? Some of you have amazing relationships. I don't have to think about my relationship with my bride. It's why I can jump in a car with this amazing soul for 21 hours and nobody goes, "You're doing what? Going to where? For how long? Doing what? For how long?" What can't you stop thinking about? Do you think about money? I haven't made a decision. Do you think about time? You haven't made a decision. Do you think about your family? Haven't made a decision. Do you think about legacy? Haven't made a decision. Curious how many people are still on. We'll find out in a second. What is your real vision that you have been avoiding? Here's a tough one. How exhausting is it to stay out of alignment? Listen, if you're tired and you still sleep, if you sleep more than 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day, and you're still tired, it's because you're out of alignment. How many of you couldn't sleep the night before a big vacation trip or a big something that was fun, totally fun? You were up all night and you went the next day and you said, I didn't sleep all night. I was so excited I couldn't sleep all night. It's time to get excited again. It's time to get excited again. Make the decision to live in excitement. It'll fix your relationships. It'll fix your life. It'll fix the way you look at things. It'll change the way you look at things. Traffic. Listen, I love traffic, especially when I'm in traffic with people in the car. I get to spend more time with them. Oh my gosh, it's awesome. I love going to Mexico City. It's moving art. It's like, you know, those mobiles that you put over a baby's bed, or those big mobiles you see in art museums where if you just watch them long enough, the wind will change them and they move slowly. That's traffic in Mexico City. When you're out of alignment, a traffic jam can't make you upset. Confidence is the byproduct of prior performance. Let that one sit in. How well have you performed at your new goal? You haven't, so therefore your confidence is in the shitter. Because your past performance dictates your confidence. Until your vision becomes so clear. What do they say? Think about the words. If you start to put these puzzles together, it's what I love to do. When people say, when you've made the decision, you can do anything. When you become so clear, you can do anything. When you see it, believe it. What's it say? You can achieve it. See, you're worrying about your prior confidence. What is your future conviction in this moment? In this moment, do you say yes or maybe? Acting powerfully allows you to become more confident. You know how I got through high school with a 0.9 grade point average? I promise you, it wasn't smarts. It was literally confidence. It was the way I carried myself. I went to an all boys Jesuit school. So it was sport coat and tie every day from 9th grade to senior year. What is that? Mace? Did you hear that?
I did.
Confidence allows you imagination and creativity. When you become confident, you can do anything. It allows you to become imaginative. It allows you to become creative. What do they say in a lot of times in personal development? Take a step and, jump off the cliff and build the parachute on the way down. What cliff are you waiting to jump off? Willpower will not get you off the cliff. Any of you ever skydived? I don't even know if you say that. Skydove? If you've ever been skydiving, willpower didn't get you out of the plane. The guy that you were strapped to said, we're going to go on 3, and you went on 2. Deception got you out of the plane. His decision got you out of the plane. Logic-based strategy and emotion-based motivation are the dynamic duo of world-class performance. Logic-based strategy. I need more people on my team. Great. Got to talk to more people. Emotion-based strategy. What's the emotion that's going to make you walk through the discomfort, walk through all of the learnings, right? Jim Rohn said, I get 1 out of 10, you get 2 out of 10. I'll beat you all the time. I'll get better. But 1 out of 10, I know my numbers. I got to talk to enough people until I get better. Then maybe I'll get to 2 out of 10. And if I become world-class, I'll get to 3 out of 10. 300 in the baseball league, they pay you $20 million. So with network marketing. There you go. We got 23 souls on here. Good morning, everybody.
Wow.
And for all of those of you that are just, you kind of heard Rhonda's voice in the background. It's because she's in the house, literally in the house. Feedback, thoughts, comments. We got a couple minutes before we got to hit Dodge. Well, I hope Dodge isn't on here. There's nobody we're going to hit. It's just, we got to run out. Thoughts, comments, young lady?
Lots of thoughts and comments. Oh, I don't know. I think that's one thing that's created another shift in me as I made the decision.
Monique.
What'd she say?
Rhonda looking like you sit behind the pastor at church.
I love you, Monique. There you go.
Well, it's just like church, right? Women are supposed to be in the background.
I just logged in and I said, what the heck is going on there?
That's funny. That's great.
This is a lot to digest.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, no,
That's
this is
a big,
lot
those
to
are big
digest.
slides. And think about what we did on the first 30 slides.
Yeah.
This is why I hope everybody goes back and watches this stuff. I don't ask, listen, I'm on a small talk diet.
But it's also, this conversation is a conversation that will line your hind end out in every area of life, not just building a network marketing business. If you can't have these, this conversation with yourself in every area.
Why do you think I waited 300 episodes to get to it?
I know.
Hey, if I can say something to this.
Please.
So I always get asked, how did you lose the weight? I mean, obviously I had gastric bypass, but after a year, you still have to do the work. If there is no miracle cure. And I always, people always ask, how did you do it? How did you lose the weight? How do you stay so motivated 7 years later? And I tell them, they always want to hear that there's some type of like magic, easy solution. And as soon as I start to tell, well, I get up at 5:30 every morning. I go to the gym every day. I eat breakfast, which is something I never used to do. I go to bed at a certain time. I have rituals that I have to do for myself to be able to stay on top of that stuff. And people always say, oh, but that's so hard. Or, oh, I have so much, I have kids and this, that. And then I just say, then you don't want this. You're not ready for this because this is what it takes. There's no easy, I always say, like, do you make a decision to, brush your teeth, take a shower, get dressed, eat every day? No, you do it because you need it. You have to do it to function. So everything that I do to maintain my weight loss or my state of mind is something that I need. Yeah. It's not something that I'm doing because I have to do it. I now need it. So there's a difference there. And, you have to be honest with yourself. If it's difficult, of course it is difficult in the beginning, to get on some type of routine and discipline and practice. But if after 2 weeks you're still struggling with it, then you really don't want it or you're not ready for it yet because it does take dedication, so.
Yeah, it's not something you can just talk about.
What's that?
It's not just something you can talk about. There's action. You've got to have action. You've got to take action. But it's this kind of conversation that exposes the lack of action.
Well, the other thing is they're asking you the wrong question. They're asking you how.
Mm-hmm.
The how never works. We can't ever lay out a how. Man hows, God how, laughs how louder, right? Man plan, God laughs. So if they asked you the why, that's a real easy. I had to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, easy for me because a lot of people have to also, but the have to still doesn't do it for them.
Yeah, but it's a want to until it's a have to.
True. Very true.
Right. And I know, and because we look at it, you can look at it, I can look at it, anybody else can look at it and go, morbidly obese. They have to do this. They haven't made the decision yet. They're still in want to land. Well, folks, there you go. I love you tons. We got a book. We got 3 days of amazing mind bending. So I'm going to take some good notes again. It should be good for a while. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Listen, go back and watch the beginning. I was good in the beginning. If you missed it, I was great in the beginning of this. I love you tons. I appreciate y'all. Say bye to each other. I'm Sean Murphy, founder of Mental Profits, along with
Rhonda Burr Parker.
We'll see y'all where? At the next event. Bye.
Have
for
a
now.
wonderful weekend, everyone. Love
Bye,
you
guys.
guys. Be safe. Be safe.
Have a great weekend.
Love you guys.
See you tomorrow. It'll be
Bye.
early again tomorrow. It'll be early again tomorrow. I might go at like 7 tomorrow. Love you guys.